The challenge arena was hastily constructed in the space between the two armies, a circular area marked by energy barriers that would contain the combat while allowing both sides to witness the outcome. Jessica stood at one edge of the circle, checking her equipment one final time, while across from her, War Chief Grimtooth of Clan Bloodfang waited with the patience of a predator. Grimtooth was everything Jessica had expected and more. Standing nearly 8 feet tall with shoulders broad enough to park a shuttle, he was covered in scars that told the story of countless battles. His armor was a dark red alloy that seemed to absorb light, and the weapon in his hands, a massive blade that crackled with energy, looked capable of cutting through a starship hull. "Last chance to reconsider, Captain." Elena's voice came through Jessica's earpiece. "We could find another way." "There is no other way," Jessica replied quietly. "This is what leadership means sometimes, taking the risks that others can't." Dr. Reese had done what she could to even the odds. Jessica's combat suit had been modified with some of the alien technology they'd captured, providing enhanced protection and mobility. Her weapon was a hybrid design that combined human engineering with Orc energy systems, though she still felt woefully outmatched. Elder Stormax of Clan Ironforge stepped into the center of the arena, his voice carrying across the battlefield through amplification devices. "By the ancient laws of combat, this challenge will determine the fate of both clans. The victor's terms will be accepted by the defeated. Let honor guide the battle." Grimtooth raised his massive weapon and spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "Little Star Warrior, you should have remained in the sky. Your bones will fertilize our new conquests." Jessica drew her weapon and activated its energy systems. "War Chief Grimtooth, I offer you a chance to withdraw your forces and seek peace. Your quarrel is not with us." "Peace?" Grimtooth laughed, a sound like distant thunder. "Peace is for the weak. Strength rules, as it always has. Prepare to die, alien." The battle began without ceremony. Grimtooth moved with surprising speed for such a large being, his energy blade whistling through the air where Jessica's head had been a moment before. She rolled to the side, coming up with her weapon ready, and fired a concentrated burst at the war chief's torso. The energy beam struck Grimtooth's armor and dissipated harmlessly. He grinned, showing tusks like ivory daggers. "Is that the best your star technology can offer?" Jessica realized that brute force wasn't going to work. Grimtooth's armor was too advanced, his strength too overwhelming. She needed to fight smarter, not harder. As he charged again, she used her smaller size and greater agility to stay mobile, forcing him to chase her around the arena while she analyzed his fighting style. "He's good," she admitted to herself. "But he's fighting like he expects his opponents to stand and trade blows. He's not used to someone who fights defensively." Grimtooth's next attack came as a series of overhead strikes designed to batter down her defenses through sheer power. Jessica met each blow with her weapon, the impact sending shockwaves through her arms, but she was watching for patterns, waiting for the opening she knew would come. It came sooner than expected. Grimtooth overextended on a particularly vicious strike, and Jessica saw her chance. Instead of backing away, she stepped inside his guard and fired her weapon point-blank at the joint where his arm met his torso. This time, her shot found its mark. The energy beam penetrated the armor joint and sent Grimtooth staggering backward, his left arm hanging uselessly at his side. The crowd of Orc warriors roared, some in anger, others in appreciation of a well-executed move. "First blood to the Star Warrior," Elder Stormax announced. But Grimtooth was far from finished. If anything, the injury seemed to enrage him further. He switched his weapon to his right hand and came at Jessica with a series of attacks that were faster and more vicious than before. Fighting one-handed, he was actually more dangerous because his moves were less predictable. Jessica found herself giving ground, her weapon barely able to deflect the furious assault. One near miss opened a gash in her armor, and she felt the burn of an energy blade across her ribs. Another strike sent her sprawling, her weapon skittering across the arena floor. Grimtooth loomed over her, his blade raised for the killing blow. "Any last words, Star Warrior?" Jessica looked up at the massive Orc warrior, her mind racing. In that moment, she remembered something Tom had told her about Orc culture. They respected cleverness as much as strength, and a warrior who could find an unexpected solution to a problem was held in high regard. "Yes," she said, activating the emergency beacon she had palmed from her belt. "Duck." The beacon emitted a piercing electromagnetic pulse that overloaded the energy systems in both their weapons. Grimtooth's blade died just as Jessica's weapon discharged its remaining power in an uncontrolled burst. The war chief's weapon exploded in his hand, sending fragments of superheated metal across the arena. In the sudden silence that followed, Jessica rolled to her feet and drew her backup weapon, a simple projectile pistol that would have been primitive by Orc standards but still lethal at close range. She aimed it at Grimtooth's head and spoke clearly. "Yield, War Chief. You fought with honor, but the battle is over." Grimtooth stared at her for a long moment, his amber eyes reflecting surprise and something that might have been respect. Then he laughed, a booming sound that echoed across the battlefield. "Cleverness over strength. Technology over tradition. You fight like no warrior I have ever faced, Star Traveler." He stepped back and raised his remaining hand. "I yield the combat." The arena erupted in voices. Cheers from the Ironforge warriors, angry shouts from some of the Bloodfang forces, and heated discussions from both sides as they processed what they had just witnessed. Elder Stormax entered the arena, his expression grave but satisfied. "The challenge is decided. War Chief Grimtooth yields to Captain Jessica Parker of the Stars. By ancient law, Clan Bloodfang will accept the terms of the victor." Jessica holstered her weapon and approached Grimtooth, who was examining his wounded arm with professional interest. "War Chief, I propose terms that honor both our peoples. Withdraw your forces from Ironforge territory, but keep your settlements and mining rights in the disputed border regions. In exchange, both clans work together to develop new technologies that will benefit everyone." Grimtooth studied her with those penetrating amber eyes. "You offer compromise rather than conquest? This is not the way of war. It's the way of peace," Jessica replied. "And peace is more profitable than war in the long run." "Profitable?" Grimtooth looked intrigued. "Explain this concept." Jessica smiled. She was beginning to understand how Orc culture worked. "War Chief, how much resources did you spend on this campaign? Warriors, weapons, equipment, supplies?" "Considerable resources," Grimtooth admitted. "And if you had won, how much would you have gained? Mining rights that would be constantly contested, territory you'd have to defend against future attacks, the cost of occupying hostile populations." Grimtooth's expression grew thoughtful. "Continue. But if we work together, share technology and resources, both clans become stronger without the cost of war. Your clan gets access to new innovations, Ironforge gets security, and everyone profits." Elder Stormax had been listening to the conversation with growing interest. "This Star Traveler speaks of wisdom beyond her years. War Chief Grimtooth, perhaps it is time to consider new approaches to old problems." Grimtooth was silent for several minutes, clearly wrestling with concepts that challenged everything he had believed about leadership and clan politics. Finally, he spoke. "Captain Jessica Parker of the Stars, your terms are unexpected. But you have earned the right to propose them through strength and cleverness. Clan Bloodfang will withdraw from Ironforge territory and consider this alliance you speak of. And in return," Jessica continued, "both clans will work together to help us repair our ship. We offer our technology and knowledge as payment for your assistance." Elder Stormax nodded slowly. "This arrangement has potential. But first, Star Traveler, you must recover from your wounds. Dr. Reese, that is the correct title, has established healing facilities for those injured in the battle." As Jessica walked off the battlefield, supported by Elena and Dr. Reese, she felt a mixture of exhaustion and hope. They had survived their first alien war, established peaceful relations with 2 Orc clans, and possibly found the technical assistance they needed to repair the Starwood Horizon. But she also knew that the real work was just beginning. Building trust between species was far more complex than winning a single combat, and they still had to figure out how to actually fix their ship with alien technology. "Captain," Elena said quietly. That was either the bravest or the most foolish thing I've ever seen. Jessica managed a tired smile. Sometimes the difference between bravery and foolishness is determined by the outcome. Let's hope we chose correctly. As they reached the medical station Dr. Reese had set up, Jessica looked back at the battlefield where humans and orcs were working together to tend the wounded and salvage equipment. It was a start, a fragile beginning to what might become humanity's first interstellar alliance. The universe was vast and full of unknowns, but for the first time since their crash landing, Jessica felt optimistic about their chances of getting home. 3 weeks after the battle, the area around the starward horizon had been transformed into a bustling hub of interspecies cooperation. Prefabricated buildings from both Ironforge and Bloodfawn clans surrounded the human ship, creating a temporary city where engineers and technicians from 3 different cultures worked together on the seemingly impossible task of repairing a starship. Jessica stood in the main engineering tent, watching Elena work alongside Grimjaw's chief engineer, a massive orc named Ironhand whose cybernetic arm was a masterpiece of biological and technological integration. They were hunched over holographic displays showing the damaged starboard engine, their conversation a mixture of translated technical terms and universal engineering gestures. The harmonic resonance of your fusion system is fascinating, Ironhand was saying through the translation device. But your matter containment fields are primitive compared to our crystal matrix systems. Elena looked up from the display, her eyes bright with excitement. That's exactly what we need. If we could integrate your crystal technology with our fusion core, we might be able to not only repair the engine but actually improve its efficiency. Dr. Reese approached Jessica, carrying a data pad filled with biological and cultural observations. Captain, the progress we're making is remarkable. The Orc clans have agreed to share not just their engineering knowledge, but their historical and scientific databases as well. What have you learned? Jessica asked, genuinely curious about the beings who had become their unlikely allies. They're not actually orcs, of course. They call themselves the Thurakii, and their species has been spacefaring for nearly 1,000 years. What we're seeing here is essentially a frontier mining colony, with different clans representing various industrial and military organizations from their homeworld. Jessica raised an eyebrow. They're colonists? Like us? More advanced colonists. The Thurakii have developed a unique approach to expansion. They establish resource extraction colonies like this one, but maintain the cultural and political structures of their homeworld. The clan system provides stability and organization while allowing for rapid adaptation to local conditions. Tom appeared at Jessica's shoulder, his communications equipment beeping with incoming data. Captain, you need to see this. I've been working with the Thurakii communication specialists, and we've managed to establish contact with their orbital stations. Orbital stations? Jessica felt her pulse quicken. They have space-based facilities? 3 of them, in high orbit around the planet. Manufacturing facilities, research stations, and what appears to be a small shipyard. Captain, they might actually be able to help us build replacement parts for systems we thought were irreparable. Jessica felt a surge of hope. When they had first crashed on this world, she had assumed they would be lucky to cobble together a basic life support system. The possibility of actually restoring the starward horizon to full functionality was almost too good to believe. Tom, can you arrange a meeting with whoever's in charge of those orbital facilities? Already done, Captain. Fleet Commander Skullsmasher wants to meet with you this afternoon. Jessica paused. Skullsmasher? Tom grinned. Thurakii names are distinctive. But according to Elena, she's one of their most respected naval engineers. The meeting took place in a communications chamber that the Thurakii had constructed specifically for long-range holographic conferences. Jessica found herself facing a 3-dimensional image of a female Thurakii who was, if anything, more impressive than the warriors she had fought alongside. Fleet Commander Skullsmasher wore the deep blue armor of what appeared to be a space-based military organization, and her cybernetic enhancements included an optical implant that glowed with soft amber light. Captain Parker. The fleet commander's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to command. Your exploits in the recent conflict have impressed many among the clans. War Chief Grimtooth speaks highly of your tactical innovation. Thank you, Fleet Commander. I understand you might be able to assist us with repairing our vessel. Perhaps. But first, I have questions about your technology and your people. The Thuraki have encountered few spacefaring species, and your capabilities are intriguing. Jessica spent the next hour answering questions about human civilization, their expansion into space, and their technological development. Fleet Commander Skullsmasher was particularly interested in human political structures and the concept of peaceful exploration as a primary motivation for interstellar travel. Most species we have encountered expand for resources or territory, the Fleet Commander observed. Your motivation of scientific discovery and colonization without conquest is unusual. Do you find it naive? Jessica asked. I find it refreshing. The Thuraki have learned that conquest often costs more than cooperation, though it took us many centuries to reach that understanding. Skullsmasher paused, consulting data that appeared on displays Jessica couldn't see. Your ship represents advanced technology in some areas and surprising limitations in others. Your fusion drive is elegant but inefficient. Your materials science is sophisticated but lacks the durability of our crystal matrix systems. And our weapon systems? Jessica asked, curious about the Fleet Commander's assessment. Adequate for defense but poorly suited for prolonged conflict. You are clearly a people who prefer to avoid violence when possible. Skullsmasher's expression might have been a smile. This makes you valuable potential allies rather than threats to be eliminated. Jessica felt a chill at the implication. Have there been threats that needed eliminating? The galaxy is not a peaceful place, Captain Parker. The Thuraki have survived by being stronger than those who would destroy us, and by forming alliances with those who share our values. Skullsmasher leaned forward in her chair. Which brings me to my proposal. I'm listening. We will repair your vessel and upgrade it with Thuraki technology. In exchange, you will serve as ambassadors to your species, establishing formal diplomatic relations between the Thuraki clans and human civilization. Jessica felt her heart skip a beat. It was everything they had hoped for and more, not just rescue, but the foundation for humanity's first interstellar alliance. But she also understood the implications. Fleet Commander, I don't have the authority to negotiate treaties on behalf of all human colonies. Of course not. But you can establish preliminary agreements and facilitate contact between our peoples. The Thuraki Council is interested in expanding our alliance network, and humans appear to be ideal partners for mutual development. What kind of development are we talking about? Skullsmasher activated a holographic display that showed star charts covering a vast region of space. The Thuraki control approximately 50 star systems, with colonies, mining operations, and research facilities throughout this sector. We have established trade relationships with 6 other space-faring species and mutual defense agreements with 4 of them. Jessica studied the star chart, noting the strategic locations of Thuraki facilities and the trade routes connecting them. It was an impressive empire, built not through conquest but through careful alliance building and technological development. And you want humans to join this alliance network? We want to explore the possibility. Your species shows technological innovation, cultural adaptability, and a preference for cooperation over domination. These are valuable traits in an interstellar community. Jessica made her decision. Fleet Commander, I accept your proposal. We'll serve as ambassadors and facilitate contact between our peoples. But I have some conditions of my own. Name them. First, any agreements we reach are preliminary until they can be ratified by appropriate human authorities. Second, we need guarantees of safe passage for human exploration vessels in Thuraki space. Third, we want access to your scientific databases and technological innovations, with appropriate safeguards for sensitive information. Skullsmasher considered the terms for several minutes. Acceptable. But I have conditions as well. First, human vessels in Thuraki space will respect our territorial boundaries and mining claims. Second, any technological exchanges will be reciprocal. We share our innovations, you share yours. Third, if either of our species encounters hostile forces, We will consider mutual assistance against common threats. Agreed, Jessica said, extending her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Skullsmasher studied the gesture for a moment, then reached out and grasped Jessica's hand with her own, a massive appendage that could have easily crushed human bones but held with careful restraint. Agreed, Captain Parker. Welcome to the Thuraki Alliance. Over the following weeks, the repair work on the starward horizon proceeded with remarkable speed. Thuraki engineers worked alongside Elena's team to install crystal matrix power systems that doubled the ship's energy output while reducing fuel consumption. The damaged starboard engine was not just repaired but completely rebuilt with hybrid human Thuraki technology that made it more efficient and reliable than the original design. Dr. Reese found herself working with Thuraki biologists on projects that ranged from improving human life support systems to developing new medical techniques that combined human and Thuraki knowledge. The cultural exchange was proving to be as valuable as the technological cooperation. Marcus worked with Thuraki navigators to update human star charts with detailed information about local space conditions, trade routes, and the locations of potentially hostile forces. What they learned was both encouraging and sobering. The galaxy contained wonders beyond imagination, but also dangers that humanity had never encountered. Tom established communication protocols that would allow human colonies to contact Thuraki space, opening the possibility for ongoing diplomatic and trade relationships. The technical challenges were considerable, but the potential benefits were enormous. But it was Elena's work that produced the most dramatic breakthrough. Working with Irehand and a team of Thuraki crystal engineers, she developed a new type of faster-than-light drive that combined human dimensional theory with Thuraki energy manipulation techniques. Captain, Elena reported with barely contained excitement. This new drive system isn't just more efficient than our old one, it's faster. Much faster. What used to take us months between stars, we could now do in weeks. Jessica examined the technical specifications, struggling to understand the complex mathematics involved. Are you sure it's safe? As sure as we can be without extensive testing. The Thuraki have been using similar systems for centuries, and our computer models suggest the hybrid design should be even more stable than either technology alone. The day came when the starward horizon was ready for its first test flight since the crash. Jessica stood on the bridge, now enhanced with Thuraki displays and communication systems, watching as her crew ran through pre-flight checks with equipment that was familiar yet strangely advanced. All systems showing green, Elena reported from her enhanced engineering station. Fusion core stable, crystal matrix optimal, new drive system ready for activation. Communications are clear, Tom announced. Fleet Commander Skullsmasher is standing by with the orbital facilities. Jessica took a deep breath and gave the order that would either vindicate her decision to trust the Thuraki or doom them all to failure. Take us up, Marcus. Let's see what our new alliance has accomplished. The starward horizon lifted off from the planet's surface with a grace that Jessica had never experienced before. The hybrid drive systems operated so smoothly that she barely felt the transition from atmospheric to space flight. Within an hour, they were approaching the Thuraki orbital facilities, and Jessica got her first look at advanced alien engineering in space. The stations were massive, kilometers-long structures that combined the raw industrial architecture of mining operations with the elegant curves of advanced engineering. Ships moved between the stations like mechanical insects, carrying cargo and personnel in a dance of organized efficiency. Captain, Skullsmasher's voice came through the new communication system. Welcome to Orbital Station Prime. Your vessel's performance exceeds our projections. The hybrid technology appears to be more successful than we anticipated. Jessica smiled, feeling a surge of pride and accomplishment. Thank you, Fleet Commander. Our engineers are eager to begin the next phase of development. And what might that be? Jessica looked around the bridge at her crew, Elena grinning at her engineering displays, Tom monitoring communications with half a dozen different alien vessels, Marcus plotting courses to star systems they had never dreamed of visiting, Dr. Reese studying biological data from species they were just beginning to understand. The next phase, Fleet Commander, is learning to be citizens of the galaxy rather than just explorers from Earth. We have a lot to learn about our new neighbors. Indeed you do, Captain Parker. But I suspect you will find the education rewarding. As the Starwood Horizon docked with the HFY station, Jessica reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. 3 months ago, they had been explorers looking for habitable planets. Now they were ambassadors, pioneers in humanity's first interstellar alliance, and witnesses to the birth of a new age of cooperation among the stars. The universe was vast and full of wonders they were only beginning to understand. But for the first time since leaving Earth, Jessica felt confident that humanity's future among the stars would be one of friendship and discovery rather than conflict and isolation. The galaxy was waiting, and they were ready to explore it together. 6 months later, Jessica stood on the observation deck of the HFY Deep Space Research Station Worldforge, watching through the massive transparent aluminum windows as construction crews put the finishing touches on humanity's first interstellar embassy. The structure was a marvel of cooperative engineering, human architectural concepts combined with HFY materials science and manufacturing techniques, creating something that neither species could have built alone. The Starwood Horizon hung in the distance, no longer the battered exploration vessel that had crashed on Thurak Prime. Elena's engineering teams, working with HFY specialists, had transformed it into something unprecedented, a hybrid warship explorer that represented the best technology both species could offer. It would serve as humanity's flagship for the HFY Alliance, a symbol of cooperation and shared purpose. Captain Parker. A familiar voice spoke behind her. Jessica turned to see Fleet Commander Skullsmasher approaching, her armor now bearing the insignia of the Alliance rather than just the HFY clans. The promotion had been well-deserved. Skullsmasher had become the primary architect of the new Alliance structure that now included humans as full partners. Fleet Commander, Jessica replied, offering the modified greeting that had become standard between their species, a combination of human salute and HFY honor gesture. How are the negotiations with the Zalari Confederation proceeding? Better than expected. Your people's diplomatic approach has impressed the Zalari leadership. They are considering joining the Alliance as associate members. Skullsmasher moved to stand beside Jessica at the observation window. Your captainship has proven particularly effective at cross-species negotiation. Jessica felt a surge of pride. Marcus had adapted to his new role as humanity's chief diplomatic liaison with remarkable skill, though she sometimes missed having him on the bridge of the Starwood Horizon. The demands of building an interstellar alliance required specialists in many fields, and her original crew had spread throughout the alliance structure to fill critical roles. Elena now headed the Joint Human-HFY Technology Development Council, working on projects that ranged from improved faster-than-light drives to revolutionary medical techniques that combined human biological knowledge with HFY bioengineering capabilities. Her latest project, a universal translator that could handle the linguistic complexities of the 12 species they had encountered so far, was nearly ready for field testing. Dr. Reese had established the Alliance Xenobiology Institute, a research facility that was rapidly becoming the galaxy's premier center for interspecies medical science. Her work had already saved lives across multiple species, and her cultural exchange programs were helping to break down barriers between civilizations that had never interacted before. Tom had become the Alliance's chief communications specialist, designing and implementing the quantum communication networks that allowed instantaneous contact across hundreds of light years. His systems were the nervous system of the growing alliance, keeping far-flung colonies and stations connected despite the vast distances involved. "Any word from Earth?" Jessica asked. Skullsmasher's expression, which Jessica had learned to read after months of working together, showed satisfaction. "The diplomatic mission arrived at Seoul 3 weeks ago. Initial contact protocols were successful, and formal negotiations are proceeding. Your species' governing council appears interested in joining the Alliance, though they are proceeding carefully." Jessica nodded. The decision to send a formal diplomatic mission to Earth had been complex and controversial. Some human colonies were eager to join the Alliance immediately, while others worried about the implications of entangling humanity in galactic politics. The process would take time, but Jessica was confident that eventually, humanity would take its place as a full member of the interstellar community. Captain! Another voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned to see War Chief Grimtooth approaching, his scarred face showing the smile that had taken Jessica months to recognize as friendly rather than threatening. Since the battle on Thurak Prime, Grimtooth had become one of humanity's strongest advocates among the Thuraki clans, and his reformed Blood Fawn clan now served as the Alliance's primary military force. War Chief, Jessica greeted him warmly. How goes the training of the Joint Defense Force? Your human military advisors continue to impress me, Grimtooth replied. They understand that victory comes from coordination and tactics, not just strength. The integrated units are performing beyond expectations. The Joint Defense Force had been Jessica's idea, combined units of humans, Thuraki, and volunteers from allied species working together to protect Alliance space from the various hostile forces they had encountered. It was both a practical necessity and a powerful symbol of interspecies cooperation. Any new threats? Jessica asked. Skullsmasher's expression grew serious. Long-range patrols have detected scout ships from the Hegemon Empire in the Kepler sector. They appear to be probing our outer defenses. Jessica felt a familiar chill. The Hegemon Empire was the primary threat facing the Alliance, a militaristic civilization that viewed other species as either subjects to be conquered or obstacles to be eliminated. Early contact attempts had been met with violence, and it was clear that eventually, the Alliance would have to defend itself against Hegemon expansion. How long before they're ready for a major offensive? Jessica asked. Our intelligence estimates suggest at least 2 years, Grimtooth replied. Enough time to strengthen our defenses and possibly recruit new allies. And enough time to hope that diplomacy might still work, Jessica added, though she knew the chances were slim. Some species, it seemed, were simply not interested in peaceful coexistence. A soft chime interrupted the conversation, indicating an incoming priority message. Tom's voice came through the communication system, barely containing excitement. Captain Parker, Fleet Commander Skullsmasher, you need to get to the communications center immediately. We're receiving a signal from an unknown source, but the origin point, you're not going to believe this. Jessica and her companions made their way quickly to the communications center, where Tom was working frantically at a console surrounded by displays showing signal analysis data. His face showed a mixture of wonder and disbelief. Tom, report, Jessica ordered. Captain, we're receiving a structured signal from approximately 400 light-years away. The signal is clearly artificial and appears to be some kind of greeting or first contact message. Another species? That's just it, Captain. The signal originated from the Andromeda Galaxy. The communications center fell silent. Jessica felt her mind struggling to process the implications. The Andromeda Galaxy was over 2 million light-years away, far beyond anything the Alliance had ever encountered or even dreamed of reaching. Are you certain? Skullsmasher asked. Tom nodded, pulling up detailed spectral analysis data. The redshift patterns are unmistakable. This signal has been traveling for over 2 million years to reach us. But Captain, there's more. What? The signal shows signs of relay amplification. It's been boosted by a series of transmission stations along its path. Someone has built a communication network that spans the gulf between galaxies. Jessica stared at the data, trying to comprehend what they were looking at. The Alliance had been proud of their expanding network of allied species, their growing understanding of local galactic civilization. Now it appeared that their galaxy was just one small part of a much larger community. Can you decode the message? She asked. Working on it, Captain. But the linguistic analysis suggests it's a greeting directed at emerging civilizations in the Milky Way. Whoever sent this has been watching us. As Tom worked to decode the intergalactic message, Jessica reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. A year ago, she had been exploring uncharted space looking for habitable planets. Now she was part of an interstellar alliance. Humanity was taking its first steps as a galactic civilization, and they had just received evidence that the universe was far more populated and interconnected than anyone had imagined. Captain, Tom announced, I've got a partial translation. He activated the main display, and text began scrolling across the screen in a dozen different languages, including English and Thuraki script. Greetings to the emerging civilizations of the Milky Way galaxy. Your alliance represents the successful integration of multiple species and the promise of peaceful expansion. You are invited to join the Galactic Community Federation. Please respond via the relay network. Coordinates and protocols follow. Jessica stared at the message, feeling a mixture of awe and anticipation. The Alliance had thought they were pioneers, the first to successfully create a multi-species civilization in their part of the galaxy. Instead, they were apparently joining an established community that spanned multiple galaxies and possibly millions of species. Fleet Commander, she said quietly, I think we're going to need a bigger embassy. Skullsmasher's laugh echoed through the communications center. Captain Parker, I believe your species has a saying about interesting times? We do indeed, Jessica replied, watching as Tom worked to decode the technical specifications for intergalactic communication. And I suspect our times are about to become very interesting indeed. The universe was vast, full of wonders and challenges beyond imagination. But as Jessica looked around the communications center at the mix of humans and Thuraki working together to decode humanity's invitation to join the galactic community, she felt the same optimism that had driven her to explore the stars in the first place. They had come so far from that damaged ship crash landing on an alien world. And somehow, Jessica suspected, their greatest adventures were still ahead of them. The stars were calling, and humanity, along with their new allies, was ready to answer.